Hello there, and welcome back to the Simple Man Podcast. My name is Brody. I've missed you guys. I have something to confess. I'm a nerd. I read books now, and something I've been dealing with, and it's a big part of why I haven't been around, because I'm just trying to accept the fact that I'm a nerd, and, before that, I had 6 Hot Toy collectibles, 45 Lego sets, 183 Black Series figures, along with plenty of other collectibles, but that didn't really, make me a nerd. But I read a 460-page book in less than 3 weeks, so that's what I've been dealing with. I'm a full-blown nerd now, and it is what it is. I've accepted my fate, and no, I've really missed you guys, and I hope you guys have been well. It's been 3 weeks or maybe a month since the last episode, and I've been, busy with life and whatnot. Been trying to get back on schedule with the podcast, so I do have a lot of updates coming to the podcast that I'm really excited about. There's going to be an actual video portion, not just posting the audio on YouTube. I will be doing an actual video portion. We've got guests lined up as well, coming within 5 to 6 weeks or so. I've been working hard on YouTube. We're only a few subs away from 1,000, so really appreciate your guys' support there. I know some of you listeners are my subscribers on YouTube, so definitely appreciate that. It's been a grind for sure, and I'm excited to see kind of where that goes. There hasn't been too much that's been going on in terms of Star Wars the past month, so we haven't had, too much to feed ourselves with, but I did complete Jedi Survivor, and I will have to say, man, that was such a good game. There was kind of a point in the middle where I started to get a little bored with it. I didn't really know where the story was going, and it was kind of like a really long mission where, couldn't really figure out where to go and that sort of thing, and I was kind of like, ah, man. So I put it down for a couple days and didn't come back to it for a little bit, but then there's this one specific part where the game just completely ramped up and the story, kind of took a turn and everything. And I won't go too far into it for spoiler reasons, but you battle a guy named Ravis. And if, you're in the middle of the game, once you play and battle Ravis, the game goes AWOL. So I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a super cool follow-up to Jedi Fallen Order. And, it seemed like, they did a really good job of making it its own unique game while battling the fact that you're just, playing as Cal Kestis and you're just a Jedi. And, you can only do so much with that idea, but the story overall was definitely unique compared to Fallen Survivor. And it was good, man. I really liked it. I would definitely give it at least a 9 out of 10. I don't know. I'll have to play Jedi Fallen Order again, but I don't know if I liked it better or not compared to that one. This one had a bit more, unique features that I think really added to the gameplay, whereas Fallen Order did get kind of repetitive, but the story was really, really good. And I think the villains of Fallen Order were just maybe a little bit better than Survivor, so other than that, like I said, I've been reading books now. It's a pretty big development in my life, to be honest. I've never been a really big reader in my adult life. I honestly cannot tell you the last time I finished a full book within the last 8 years or so. Maybe since high school, to be honest. But I got into it a little bit. I actually read a non-Star Wars book before reading the Thrawn book, which was called Hounded by this dude, Kevin Hearn. Super cool book. Was more of a fantasy type book, but mixed with a modern day. I think there's a genre for that, but basically this old druid guy he's old enough to where he's lasted until modern day, and some of these ancient guys are coming after him, and it was really good. I actually really liked it, and the writing style and everything. The writer was obviously, or the author was obviously a big Star Wars fan, because there was 9 to 10 Star Wars references within the book that just, had no effect on the story whatsoever, but the main character was obviously, led on to be a Star Wars fan. So it was pretty cool, and definitely added to the fact that I just liked the style of it and everything. But that kind of got me into the idea of reading Star Wars books. It's something that I've been putting off in terms of my content consumption, you miss out a lot when you don't read the books, and I think Thrawn definitely made me realize that, and I will definitely be reading more of the books going forward. I would always do a pretty fair job of, like getting the details of the story or sort of main points of what happens in the books from either from like YouTube or Instagram or whatever, but never really actually fully read the book. I read The Light of the Jedi about like 75% of the way through, and then I didn't finish it just because, I don't know, I'm lazy and I got out of it. But this Thrawn book was super good, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, it is the Thrawn novel from 2017. It's by Timothy Zahn. It's the canon trilogy that basically introduces Thrawn to the Empire, and man, it was so good. Like, it's one thing to know the story, but to actually read it and sort of see within Thrawn's mind and like how he works and everything was super cool. And the way that he works himself into the Empire was also just, kind of mind-blowing. And one character that I was really, really surprised at and that I came to appreciate was Arinda Pryce, who is Governor Pryce in Star Wars Rebels. She is an absolute savage, and she will literally do anything to, move herself up within the Empire and whatnot. And the way that like her journey starts and how she comes up through the political system is just so cool, and like was completely unexpected from that book, to be honest. I didn't really like expect to care that much for her, but she was really cool. And now seeing Rebels, it's definitely like it makes it you have a little bit more context as to where her and Thrawn come into Rebels, so that's pretty cool. And overall, it was just a like really, really well written book. You get to fly through a lot of that time period. It's like, I want to say like at least 10 years or so of kind of, at the end of the Clone Wars, beginning of the Empire to like middle where Rebels starts, I think like 5 years before A New Hope, maybe. And it was just really good. I would definitely recommend it as sort of a starting point if you're looking to get into the Star Wars books. It provides a lot of context to the Empire and everything at that time. And Thrawn is just such a cool character that I feel like you need a little bit more, or at least I myself needed a little bit more Thrawn before we get to Ahsoka. He's really cool in Rebels, and he's just not there, as much as I needed him to be. So I wanted more Thrawn, and I got it with these novels. Now I'm on to Thrawn Alliances, and I'm loving that one. Darth Vader is in that one a lot more, and they do flashbacks to the Clone Wars. So that's really cool. We get to hear from Anakin and Padme, and it's just really cool to see that perspective as well. So I'm looking forward to finishing the trilogy, hopefully within the next month or two, and I'll let you guys know how that goes. But now I've got a whole freaking list of Star Wars books that I got to read, and feels intimidating a little bit, but honestly, I've gotten into the groove. And honestly, if you're not a big reader like me, like you just have to do it, and then you'll start to really like it. Because my girlfriend Kaylee is a big book nerd. I always call her a nerd, but she's always been reading, and for the past few years, I'm like, man, she reads so much, and I'm like, it kind of looks fun, I want to try, and I tried it, and I like it a lot. It's a nice, relaxing way to like end the night. Helps you sleep better, to be honest. Like if you read right before you go to bed, instead of, watching TikToks on your phone and whatnot, it honestly helps you fall asleep and relaxes you and stuff. So highly recommend. I'm sure there's people on here like, wow, dude, you freaking read a book. Good for you. But it's I really enjoy it. And my list as of right now, I'm gonna finish the Thrawn trilogy, and then I bought Alphabet Squadron, which is the first book of a trilogy. It's supposed to be really good. It's more of like the new Resistance pilots versus the Imperial remnants and whatnot. So that one's supposed to be really cool. I already had Dark Disciple, which I bought like last year and, never opened it. So I definitely want to read that. I might read that one right after Thrawn because it's a one-off, and I really, really want to read that story. It has Quinlan Vos and Asajj Ventress in it, so definitely want to read that. It's supposed to be one of the better Star Wars books overall. And then I want to read Shadow of the Sith, which is the one where Luke and Lando kind of go on a adventure looking for something. I think they're looking for Sith artifacts or something, and a bunch of crazy stuff happens. But that's where I'm at in terms of my reading career. I'm a rookie, but I've got a bright future ahead of me, so I'm excited about that. I would love to know if you guys read any Star Wars books, or if there's any ones that you want to recommend that I haven't already mentioned. I would seriously appreciate that, because it's definitely hard to know like where to start and what you should read. There's so many books, and the High Republic has a pretty solid fandom. And like I said, I read almost all of Light of the Jedi, and it was really good. I don't know why I didn't finish it, but I've heard pretty good things about the High Republic overall. I kind of want to read more of the Skywalker saga era books before going back to the High Republic. I feel like the High Republic is an easy way to like start at one point and then go forward in time and with like a consistent storyline, because kind of all starts with the Light of the Jedi and then moves onward from there. But I kind of want to fill in these gaps that I'm unaware of, in a sense, in the Skywalker era. So that goes with comics too. Been reading some more comics, and I actually like the High Republic comics as well. I feel like that's kind of the way that I have been liking seeing that story, just because I like to see what the characters look like, and I guess books are cool in that way because you get to imagine what things look like, but kind of like seeing and then reading about them. So I think that's why I like the Thrawn book so much, is because like I knew what the characters looked like. I could envision everything that it was talking about so well, and it like really played like a movie, in my head. And I think that's why I'm liking the Skywalker era so much, because it's not outside of what we've already seen on screen. So really, really like that aspect. But yeah, let me know what your book recs are. Follow me on Goodreads. I'm a big Goodreads guy now. Man, I've been talking about books for like 10 minutes. What a freaking nerd. Jeez, man. Well, the Halcyon Hotel is closing, and I literally don't care. I mean, it is what it is, man. Rich people can't go to the Star Wars hotel anymore, and that's fine. I never was going to go, probably because I'm not cool enough to get invited, so I'm not a freaking TikToker. Man, I'm not mad about that, am I? Jeez. No, I mean, that kind of sucks, they're closing down the Star Cruiser Hotel, and I mean, honestly, I feel more for the employees than anything else. Like, imagine, like, you get cast as, like, one of the aliens, or as Rey or Kylo, and, like, that's your job. You get to, like, go play Star Wars every day, and I'm sure they'll have other positions open for them, but I feel like for many of those people, that was probably a dream job where they got to like go and be a Star Wars character every day. And that kind of sucks. But overall, I mean, not the biggest deal. Disney's going to cut their losses, obviously. Probably write it off for a tax write-off, and it'll end up working in their favor somehow. But it would have been cool to go. I don't think it was like that amazing, or it didn't look that amazing, other than the fact that like it's unique and it's like immersive, but there really wasn't that much Star Wars like baked in there. I feel like it looked very sci-fi, random. It wasn't like you were staying in the Millennium Falcon or anything like that. It was like this weird Star Wars hotel that we've never seen on screen or anything, and they kind of tried to like force that idea rather than like just making it like a fun Star Wars experience. They wanted it to be like a story that you're a part of, which is cool, don't get me wrong, but I think they could have done a better job if they would have just went with like making it this crazy fun Star Wars experience where Darth Vader, all the characters are there from all eras, not just kind of the sequel era. Same thing goes with Galaxy's Edge. I mean, I don't really know why they went with a like canon approach. Like, I don't know why they couldn't just made it Star Wars land and all the characters show up. I was talking to Punch It Chewy Press about this, Bella and Arakel, and I mean, it just doesn't make sense why they didn't go with more of like a Star Wars land approach rather than like Galaxy's Edge, where it's like this canon planet, called Batuu, which we've never seen before in Star Wars, and it limits them on what they can do as far as the rides and the characters there and whatnot. I mean, it just doesn't really make sense. I don't know why they did it like that, but I feel like they're too deep now, so it is what it is. But it does suck that the hotel is closing and that, they didn't pull it off better because, I mean, it would have been cool to experience that sort of thing. But it is what it is, man. I'm not going to pay $5,000. They're not getting that out of me, that's for sure. Same thing goes there. I guess there was a bunch of Disney layoffs, like Disney as a company. It's not really Lucasfilm, but they're laying off a bunch of people just because, business and saving money and whatnot. And that sucks. I'm sure, again, people's dream jobs to work for Disney and whatnot and just getting laid off because they want to make more money at the executive level, I'm sure. And that's just shitty. And as much as I love Disney and Star Wars and Marvel, whatnot, it does suck that it is ran by a giant corporation that, is money hungry, and Disney is that. I feel like, when it started, when a lot of things start, they're not, meant to be just corporate conglomerates. They're, there's a spirit behind them, and I feel like Disney is sort of losing that a little bit because of money, and they've gotten so big that they can't not focus on the money. They have to make money or else people are, I guess people are losing their jobs anyway, but I guess the execs will lose all their money, which, geez, man, that's just America and how the world works, I guess. That is what it is. Speaking of corporate conglomerates, man, Meta has been just freaking messing me up, punching me in the face because I've been getting destroyed with the Instagram algorithm, and I know I complain about this sometimes, but it is rough, man. Like, you work on your content and whatnot, and you put it out, and it just doesn't get seen by your followers, and there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just random, and I've done, it's not necessarily research, it's just observation and experience, I guess, but Instagram and most platforms want you to do the same thing over and over and over again because they know it works and they know they can push it out and they know people are going to click on it. And it doesn't really allow for, creative expression and like doing different things and trying new stuff. It wants you to do the same thing over and over and over again. And by the same thing, I mean, especially with Instagram, I mean the same format. Like, say I do facts in my post, right? Like, if I did that every single time, every single post was a fact post every time, my account would be bussin', trust me. But I don't like to do that. I like to be creative, and I get bored of doing the same sorts of things all the time. And I like my page to have that variety and, not do the same exact thing, but the platform doesn't like that. So, I post a fact and it does all right, and then I post a completely different type of post and it doesn't show it to my followers. And it's not really about the likes, honestly. Like, at this point, I could care less how many likes my posts get. If it's not a good post, don't like it. But it's when it's clear that it's just not showing to the same amount of followers. When one post shows to 50,000 of my followers, then the next post only shows to 10,000. I post consistently every day. Like, you would think the same amount of people would see, one post after the other, but it's just how it is and it's how it goes. And we're all fighting it. It's not just me. A lot of people have the same issues, but I appreciate those of you that are constantly supporting because it really does mean a lot. Some posts will only get 1,000 likes and that's fine, but there'll be 200 comments on it. I'm like, that's legit, man. It's really cool. And I'd rather have comments than likes, and rather have genuine conversations going and whatnot. And it's just frustrating, I think, as a creator when you put time in, and having so much experience with it now, it's just annoying when the algorithm doesn't respect you, but it is what it is, man. Is my voice kind of super hot and sexy right now? I don't know. I feel like it is. I got a new microphone because little announcement drop here, I guess. But me and Kaylee are going to be bringing back our old podcast. It was called The Midnight Smack, and I'm sure some of you guys listen to that. A few years ago, we stopped. COVID hit, and we just kind of got completely out of it. Kaylee was going through school and whatnot, but we're bringing it back, and I'm super excited because we've got our own place, and our setup is a lot better than it used to be. So I feel like we're actually going to produce like a pretty solid podcast and show and whatnot. So I'm super excited for that, and I love working with her on stuff. And it was super fun when we did it before. Again, it was just kind of like not the right situation at the time, but now it is. So probably in a few weeks we'll be kind of announcing our comeback and recording our first episode and whatnot. And if you didn't listen before, we kind of just chat shit and talk about current events and pop culture and whatnot. So it's definitely fun, and we try to incorporate our listeners and fans into the show. So definitely excited for that. So I will let you know when that is coming out. One last update before I go. We're on our Clone Wars journey, me and Kaylee, and I'm having so much fun with it. She's getting a little burnt out. I can tell. We're almost through season 4, but it heats up, man. I'm like, just push through. Come on, we got to do it because we're getting to Darth Maul. We're getting to fives and all those crazy good arcs. Obviously, season 7 is awesome, but it's really heating up. And I think we just watched the episode where Obi-Wan fakes his death as Rico Hardeen, and that's a good one. And I feel like right around there is when the story just kind of all starts to come together and stops being so random, And obviously Darth Maul coming back is just so epic, so I can't wait for that. But we have decided to watch all the Star Wars in order, basically. We did watch The Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones actually before the Clone Wars, before we even planned this, and then we didn't watch Revenge of the Sith for some reason, so it kind of works out perfectly that we're, moving through the Clone Wars, and I really need to get to Rebels before August. That's my main concern, because I need her to see Rebels before Ahsoka comes out, so we got to move quickly. But I feel like once we're through the Clone Wars, there's more movies and less long format content in between there. So just need to get to Rebels and we'll be absolutely chilling. Well, that's about it, man. I got books to go read. I got pages to fly through. I don't know what I'm doing sitting here talking to you guys. I mean, come on. These books aren't going to read themselves. It's what I do. It's what I'm known for. So now I appreciate you guys listening. And like I said earlier, there's going to be a video portion coming pretty soon. Maybe next week, maybe the week after that, but you're going to be able to see my, nice mug on YouTube if you want to watch the podcast instead of just listen to it. So that's pretty exciting. Going to have guests going, and I'm excited. I feel like I'm actually really starting to get focused on this and want to make it like a reality. I mean, you guys are the guys that are going to be listening now. That in 2 years, when I'm, headlining Star Wars Celebration, you're going to come up to me and say, man, I was there at the beginning. And I'll be like, dude, sick, man. Love you, bro. And, no, that's the goal. I mean, I guess my problem, honestly, is I haven't really had too much of a goal with this podcast. It's always just been kind of for fun, but honestly, like, I want to make it a legit thing and, get some recognition for it and get some opportunities through it. So I really appreciate you guys helping along with that and for listening. I'm almost to 1K on YouTube. Help me get there, guys. I would really appreciate that. Check me out on Officially Star Wars and Brody1 Kenobi on Instagram, and I will talk to you guys next week. Thanks for listening. May the Force be with you. Peace.